All right, Mike Snyder, we start session 2, Saturday afternoon of Indy Super Pull 14. And we couldn't start off with any better tractor here in the 5,000 modified, our first class, than the defending champion, Tim Engler.
Well, Dave, this is a 5-engine tractor with 3 of the engines removed. Tim only runs 2 in the 5. So we just couldn't ask for a better test puller.
Well, it's interesting. When they take 3 engines off, does it change? Of course, it changes the horsepower dramatically, a lot less. But does it change the handling of the tractor?
It changes the balance of the tractor. It changes the gear ratio, how fast the rear tires go around. Everything changes with a change in horsepower.
Well, he's still cranking out about 3,500 to 4,000 RPMs. You can see the tractor shaking a little bit as he comes off the line. He's really moving. He's got tremendous speed up now. Mission Impossible doesn't take more than about 10 seconds to get down to the end of the track. And he's going to make a full pull with Mission Impossible. Tim Engler. You know, we've said so much about this young puller from Princeton, Indiana, Mike, but he truly now is at the top of his game.
Yes, he is. Tim's worked hard a lot of years and built a lot of tractors.
It was
a lot of equipment running out there that Tim built.
Pretty run. Let's take a look at it here again now. And you can see that he gets a lot of speed. The front end comes up, and would you say that was properly balanced?
I'd say it was. The front end lifted, and he carried it all the way down the track. The tractor was just perfectly balanced.
Full pull. Here comes Leo K now from Bradford, Pennsylvania, and once again we see the tractor with a couple of engines removed, similar to what Tim Engler had. It's interesting, Mike, a lot of people that may be watching this tape for the first time, just how do they hook these 2 motors together so they run it appropriately at the same time?
Those 2 engines that set in line are coupled together, crankshaft to crankshaft, and then there is a single clutch on the back of the back or second motor, and then the drive shaft going back to the tractor transmission.
Let's say that the front engine might want to lay down. Maybe it's not getting the right amount of fuel or something's wrong with the engine. Is this really going to hurt the overall run?
It will in the case where the engines are coupled crankshaft to crankshaft. If each engine had its own individual clutch, it wouldn't be any problem because the clutches lock up with centrifugal force. But crank to crank, when one goes down, it drags the other one with it.
And of course, we'll see, though, more multiple engine tractors later on, this one and Engler's included. Here we go now. Leo K. from Bradford, Pennsylvania, the driller, appropriately named as the LK Drilling Special, comes off the line. He's got a lot of speed, but he's starting to drift to the right-hand side of the track. He's having to work the brakes very, very hard. The green flag is still up, but he comes to a halt. Short of a full pull, and Leo K. is going to record 2:22 and 11. Rick Austin has been a very popular 5 and 7,000 pound modified puller for many, many years, the 5 being his best class, with dirt flirt. This has been a good tractor and a very stable tractor, not a lot of breakage. Rick Austin, a farmer from southern Wisconsin, Broadhead, Wisconsin exactly. It's a Reed chassis with a couple of Chevrolet engines out there. He's off to a fast start.
He's lifting, balance as well. It's still dragging him off to the right side of the track a little bit.
And you can see the butterflies close. He's going to come up short at 2:03 and 11. Only one full pull so far. That's Tim Engler. All right, now we go back to this tractor that's had a couple of motors removed, similar to what 2 of them we've already seen before. Here comes the tractor from Oconomowoc, Wisconsin, driven by Steve Jeske. Last time we saw him on the first tape, he had run out of bounds, so he wants to keep it between the white lines. Steve Jeske running a Weber chassis with 2 Aries. We'll see him later on with 4, and then we'll see him on Sunday afternoon's performance with 5 engines. So here again, the big motors, plenty of power, but do you have it properly balanced? Can you keep it between the white lines?
Well, that's kind of the story. That's no matter how much power you have, you still have to go out and make a good pull, and that's where the driver comes into play.
Monday following Super Pull 14, this tractor will be loaded, Mike, and it'll be put on a container and headed to the East Coast, where it'll be put on a ship. It'll be going along with the family, the Jeske family, over to Europe to pull in Holland this winter. Here comes Steve Jeske now as he leads the line. A lot of shake there in the rear of the tractor, but he's got good speed, lifting very high now as he heads down the center of the track. He's moving, coming close, but is going to be a little shy of the checkered flag. He'll have a distance of 2:26 and 8. Good run, but normally you expect this tractor to make a full pull.
Normally you would, but the front end got up a little too high on him. Of course, when the front end goes up, the drawbar goes down, and that severely affects your pull.
Here we get another look at Steve Jeske, and you can see a little bit of shake there in the rear end. And Mike, notice that the chassis has a little bit of turn to it or torque to it. Does that hurt the performance of the tractor in any way?
It will affect how the rear tires lock into the track. That's one reason that they mount the motors crosswise.
All right, here's our first look now at a single Allison. Jan Smizing out of Sydney, Ohio. Homemade chassis, as all of these chassis are, with an Allison aircraft engine. Tell us about the power plant, Mike.
It's a V12 1710 cubic inch Allison. It's fuel injected on alcohol. It still has the crankshaft-driven supercharger on the front end, but it has a pretty sophisticated fuel injection.
What would you say, from a stock motor to an injected Allison, how much more horsepower would he get out of the injection system?
It's really kind of difficult to say. The important thing that the fuel injection system does is it's a lot more dependable than carburetors. You don't have to worry about the engine leaning out and severe detonation problems.
Pushes that fuel in there at a lot better rate. Here we come now. That big Allison 1710, he's probably hitting 4,000 to 5,000 RPM. A good run for Jan Smizing here in the 5 modified. And he comes to a halt at 2:07.9. Mike, we see some flames coming off. What is that?
When the engine goes back to an idle, the fuel injection system hasn't quite caught up with itself yet. It's just a little bit of extra fuel going through the engine.
Here comes the tractor they call Triple Chaos out of West Alexandria, Ohio. Wayne Garrett, the driver. He calls it Triple Chaos, but I only see 2 motors, Mike.
Well, it's Triple Chaos when it gets into the 7,000-pound class.
Of course, that's one of the unique things about pulling nationwide is the addition and subtraction of motors for the different classes. One of the things that this sport has over drag racing, where you can run several different weight classes. He maybe have a little bit less horsepower here than some of the other guys, but a very good, consistent, straight-line puller, and he'll get the most out of his tractor that he can. You can see the front end picking up and very nicely balanced. Maybe a little high, would you say, Mike?
Just a little bit, but not too bad. His balance was close.
A little warm out there, 184.6 for the distance. All right, here we go now. Willie Hawkins, all the way from Texas. He may have come as far as anybody for this pull. Mike, tell us about the history of this tractor, because this has been in several hands of some really good pullers in the past.
This was the first tractor ever to run the 5 modified with an Allison aircraft engine in it. It was originally built by Dave Haley, the first president of the National Tractor Pullers Association. And from Dave Haley, the tractor went to Stan Burton out in Iowa and was campaigned by Stan very successfully for quite a few years.
Here comes Willie Hawkins off the line with his Allison. Now, this does not have the injection system on it, but looks like he's getting a lot of speed. Look at those tires.
It is fuel injected on alcohol, but the fuel injector is right on the nose of the engine, and all the fuel goes in through the supercharger.
Good point. And Willie Hawkins comes up at 195.2. All right, here comes our only Canadian entry of the weekend, Andre Senard out of Grand Isle, Quebec, Canada, running a couple of Chevys out there in a very beautiful 5 mod.
It's a beautiful tractor, Dave. The paint job, the chrome work, and the attention to detail on this tractor is just, from one end to the other, it's just a beautiful machine.
Well, if you get up in Andre's part of the North America to Quebec, of course, a lot of French-speaking people up there. He calls it sensation. I'm not sure what the word in French would be, but sensational or something like that, Mike. But this is a gorgeous machine. If he can make a straight run, get the front end up a little bit, he's got a shot of at least being there in the high placings here in the 5,000 modified. As he comes off the line, the flagman gives him the green flag. He's on his way. Now he begins to lift. He's got to work those brakes a little bit so he doesn't go out of bounds.
Awful hard.
And you can see there's the white line on the left-hand side of our picture. He's only about 1.5 feet from going out of bounds, but he does keep it between the white lines. The final distance for Andre Senard from Canada, 169.10. Here's Dave Walsh now from Boston, Wisconsin. We saw him earlier in the 7. Now he's here in the 5 with 1 motor removed, Mike. These Aries motors that many of the pullers are running, tell us a little bit about this big aluminum block engine.
Well, the Aries engines are mainly used in 2 motorsports, tractor pulling being the main one. The other one is drag boat racing. They really haven't been used all that much in drag racing up to this point.
You're talking primarily about an alcohol engine then rather than nitromethane?
Rather than a nitromethane.
All right, the distance for Dave Walsh, 2:19 even. That moves him up in the standings. Mike, about 6-7 years ago, the Thumper tractor that was a Buckeye tractor was very well known after winning a couple of 5,000-pound modified championships. But it's got a different power plant in it now because it's owned by a driver up in Elizabethtown, New York, with the name of Wayne Clark, and he's taken a couple of big KBs out of it and got an Allison aircraft engine in.
Yeah, the fuel injected on alcohol, and I would imagine that Allison probably just has about as much steam as the 2 Keith Blacks did that were in there before.
That's right. Now, the Allison that is in there, of course, you say a V12 1710. What was the Allison originally used in as a power plant?
It was used in World War II fighter planes, and it was supercharged. Of course, any high-altitude plane the engine would have to be supercharged.
All right, we're talking about a motor now that's over 40 years old. It's become a standout engine, not only in the boat racing, the Unlimited, but also tractor and truck pulling as well. Here he comes. Looks like, what is that, raw alcohol coming out of that right rear of the motor?
Well, even though the engine's a V12, it has 24 pipes on it because it has 4 valves per cylinder, and there was 1 cylinder misfiring there. That was raw alcohol.
And the distance for Wayne Clark out of New York, 199.11. Here comes the Chief's nemesis of Tim Engler. Engler in the lead right now with a full pull. This is his buddy, Fred Freeman. Will this be another duel like we saw in that 7,000-pound modified on the first evening of competition here at Super Pull 14? What do you think, Mike? Do you think he's got a chance of making a full pull?
I'd say Fred definitely has a chance. As strong as he looked in that 7 modified, he'll be right in there in this class.
There's been talk in the pit area about the different kind of grind that he has on his tires versus some of the other pullers. What do you think of that?
He does have his tires set up just a little bit different, but I think the secret of Fred's tractor is he has the right tire, the right gear, the right horsepower. He just has the perfect combination, and when you have a combination like that, you're just darn hard to beat.
Here he comes. It's a family affair, and he just gets it out the end. You can see the white line across the track there. He barely makes it out. Fred Freeman now. We've got a pull-off, definitely, in this class. Well, here we come. Now, this guy is as ingenious as they come in the business, Mike. Here's Mike Holden out of Marietta, Ohio, the vocational agriculture teacher. With, right now, I only see 1 Allison, but look at all of that extra space. He must have a lot of room for more.
Well, believe it or not, Dave, before this pulls over, you'll see this tractor come back up with 3 more Allisons in it. It's the only tractor ever built that'll carry 4 Allison aircraft engines.
And it was just a year ago when he came out with 3.
That's right. And this engine that's in the tractor right here, last August, he blew this engine up at Bowling Green. He machined away the bad parts of the block, put in Cummins sleeves, and, well, he's having some problems there. But
yeah, it's not coming to life. Now, tell us, are we talking about a naturally aspirated motor here?
No, all the Allisons originally had crankshaft-driven superchargers up on the front end of the engine, and that one still does. And it is fuel injected, but rather than buying a high-dollar fuel injection system, Mike made his own.
Now, a motor like that, as he backs up, he's going to get one more try at it, looks here. What kind of money are we talking about to buy an engine like this?
Well, of course, as we said before, all the Allisons are 40 years old, and you just have to really find them wherever you can get them. Sometimes you have to buy 2 or 3 junk ones to get enough parts to make a good one.
Well, it was truly a remarkable power plant back between 40 and 44. He's leaving the track right now, and it doesn't look good. 103.1 feet. All right, now we go to the pull-off. Boy, we've had some great pull-offs so far at Super Pull 14. And I'm sure this one is going to be a repeat. It'll be between Freeman and Engler, the 2 top modifieds in southern Indiana for sure. And Engler, of course, has just won so much the last couple of years. Engler, who has done well in NTPA. Freeman, who has done well in TNT. So it's sort of a TNT-NTPA match-off. They're neighbors, only about 30, 40 miles apart. Of course, Engler built Freeman's chassis. This is a heads-up situation. Here we go now. Tim Engler off the line first here in the 5,000 modified out of Princeton, Indiana. Those big Aries coming to life. He's lifting nicely. Boy, what a perfect run Engler is making, and he gets the red flag at 214 feet, .2. 214.2 for Engler. Mike, we've seen some just perfect runs so far at Super Pull 14. It's going to take one out of Fred Freeman, I'm sure, as well, to beat Engler here in the 5 mod.
Yeah, I'm sure it will, Dave. You know, these 2 guys are friends, and they work on each other's tractor. But when it comes time to hook on, buddy, they're out there for the win.
We've been talking about power all the time. You said that Freeman had the right tires, the right engines for this length of track, but wouldn't Engler really have him out horsepowered by quite a bit?
Yeah, but it's not all a horsepower game. You've got to go out there and go farther than the other guy, not just spin your tires faster than...
All right, he's got to beat 214 and 2. That's the distance to beat. Tim Engler in the lead at 214.2 feet. Here he comes. Fred Freeman off to a rough start. He's bouncing pretty badly. Look at those tires going up and down. Now it smooths out toward the end of his run. The Wadesville, Indiana puller comes to a halt. This is going to be close as the red flag goes up and the measuring crew says 2:16 and 9. He wins it. Fred Freeman wins the pull on the final pass here in the 5 modified at Super Pull 14. He gets the handshake from Mike Speller out there, one of the N flagmen in a tremendous class.
Just an excellent pull.
That concludes the 5,000 modified as we get another look here of Mean Mistreater. Mike, he was bouncing bad. How in the heck did he ever really get the winning run with a run like that off the line?
I don't know. That was kind of a problem coming out of the hole there, but boy, once the tractor hooked into the track, he just definitely got the job done.
All right, we're going to go to the two-wheel drive trucks next. Your strategy in the pull-off tonight, because they were all excellent tractors.
Well, I just decided that I would run it just exactly like I did the first time. The first time I got a little light, and everybody told me maybe I need to move some weight forward, but my tractor seems to work best when it gets the nose in there, so I just left it light and come out there and drove like normal.
Everybody, it looked like, ran light tonight. Did they miss their weight, or was the track just that tough?
Well, the track was just that tough. Once you got down to about the 150-foot mark, it really took a real good bite.